Jones. He's still got Mackay, still got Mackay, still got Mackay, and Mackay goals.
Gibbons talk about selling candy and kicking a beauty.
What about this from ball inside 50? Cottrell from nowhere. Wasting no time, Jack News. Set shot. He strikes it beautifully. He's got it. The Blues win it. Jack News after the siren has won the game for Carlton. That is unbelievable.
Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. Gee, it has been an incredibly draining just after that performance to Collingwood. There's been a lot of negativity, and I think rightfully so. Both of us, we're pretty, optimistic fans most of the time. This week, Lockie, I am struggling a little bit. I'm going to need you to be my therapist. Come on, man, cheer me up. Because I think we've been chatting a little bit before we started this podcast, and we've got slightly different views. So, hit me with it. Give me some positivity after that, because it's hard to find.
Yeah. No, well, I'm definitely going to try and do my best, because I don't want it to be doom and gloom 2 games into the season. Even though, if anyone listened to last week's episode, they'll know that we were locking it in as a certain win. So that's probably the first thing that hurts, how confident we were.
That's the hardest thing, because I think there was so much going into it. The fact that Carlton, Collingwood, big rivalry. Both teams were on level wins as well, which it was such a big thing. We're talking about finals.
Yep.
There's that big stat getting thrown around all week that barely anyone who goes 0-2 can make finals. And they're one of the teams that we need to beat to basically jump on the ladder to knock out of finals. They're one we've been talking about all preseason as the one that'll drop out. So we had to win sort of thing. And I think it wasn't necessarily just the loss for me that is why I'm so disappointed. It was just the whole way about it and our actual performance as a whole, rather than just the complete result that has me a little bit down. But yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely different. I think our analysis will be different again another time, where when you're at the game, it's such a different feeling.
Yeah.
Because maybe it does give you more optimism, because, there was moments in the last quarter where it was like, oh, here we go. We could run over the top here. And the crowd, it was our first home game, and the crowd was up and about for us and that kind of thing. So that's another reason why I didn't feel as doom and gloom, because I felt like in the last quarter, I was like, we have a chance. Oh, okay, we've been run over again. But yeah, look, the Carlton community has been, very upset in the last few days, and which is so fair, because we were basically saying we want to be 1-1. However, we can make that happen, and that's just not the case.
There's just so much to, take from this game and look into. I was looking at sort of stats-wise, and there's couple of glaring stats when you look at it.
Yeah.
4 goals from 8 inside 50s at one stage in the first quarter from Collingwood. That is ridiculous. Our pressure from the get-go was just non-existent. And that's probably the reason why I'm so disappointed in it, because there was so much build-up. Carlton supporters, we're all giving shit to our Collingwood mates. We're building it up. We're saying, you're saying tip us in the comp, we're a shoe-in, put the house on it. Carlton are coming. And then there was just no intensity from the start. Midfielders not doing anything. Defenders getting absolutely killed. Lockie Plowman having a bath. I know you want to chat about him, so this could be a good place to do it. But it was just ridiculous. And, allowed 6 marks in our defence. Collingwood last week didn't even have that many in the whole game.
Yep.
That is ridiculous. Conceded 16 goals from 48 inside 50s. That is 1 goal from every 3 entries. That is disgusting.
It's a strange turnaround, isn't it? Even just that stat compared to Richmond, isn't it? It was surprising that we had 12 more inside 50s than them and that they were able to convert so much better. Yeah, I don't know whether you want to touch on Plowman now, but the biggest thing for me, it did seem like it was the midfielder pressure for me, because the way that was happening, I know Plowman did do things wrong in the game, and he made skill errors, and a bunch of players, Doherty, I thought, made some atrocious skill errors down back.
Oh, yeah. Again, he's struggling.
He is.
I don't know what's happened. It's obviously hard to come back from a couple of ACLs, but he's just not doing anything well, in my opinion. He's not that rebounder anymore. He's not that cool head. How many times did you just kick the ball out on the full when you're like, we need this kick to go the right way to have any chance of winning? Yep. He's just a shell of himself. And it's weird because he started last season so well. Those first couple of games, the Essendon game was unreal. And then just he's disappeared. I don't know I don't know what's wrong, and it's the hardest part when it's your leaders, which is a dot point which we'll get onto at some stage. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Doherty, but we need him to turn it around.
And it's hard when he's getting so much of the ball too, though. It's not like he's just getting beaten because he's not touching it.
Yeah.
He's just getting it and not using it well. But I mean, the first quarter, just thinking about that stat with the inside 50s and the goals they were kicking, I don't know what the defenders could have done. Because they were getting it on a platter, and I'm not saying that's because Collingwood are amazing. I think that's because they were getting too much space in the midfield, is how I looked at it. Well, watching the highlights back this morning, obviously very different to being there, but it was like watching the ball move up the ground, and you watch the defender, and I'm like, all right, Plowman is right next to him here. All right, he's going with him, and how could he spoil that? Which isn't, I'm not saying his whole game was good. Yeah. But I'm saying I just think that the midfield is the most to blame because they're just getting too much space. And it was the same against Richmond.
They definitely are. And it seems to be like I don't know if it's game plan. I don't know what it is, why we allow teams just to run through the corridor so easily. There is always just so much space. Like it almost feels like this is how every game goes. We grind with the ball on the boundary. We struggle to get it forward. Then all of a sudden we get it in our forward line. And it's not like a good goal. It's like a Gibbons piece of magic or a goal out of nothing. And we've worked, 5 minutes to get this goal. And then literally the other team just runs straight through the middle. Bloke on the lead. How easy was that? Goal.
It does always feel like that.
Ease. They score with ease. They move the ball through the middle with ease. There's no pressure. I don't know what we're doing. It was interesting. Heard a bit from, I believe it was Lepich, was talking in the media saying that, talking about Cripps and how we can get him to play better, and it's our game plan. And it was talking about how we just have the game so open and we need to sort of tighten it up. And he was saying that seemed to be like tweaks in the game plan. And I'm like, well, why the hell is the game plan to have the game open? That seems like the most weirdest way. I think it was the Prendercast boys that were chatting about our game plan and different things like that. And it's bewildering to think that we play so much differently to every other team in the comp. And we're not good. So clearly something isn't working. And I think that's just another thing we need to touch on at a later stage in this is the actual coaching, because I've got a couple of notes, a couple of things I want to talk about. But on the Plowman issue, incredibly difficult for any defender in that game. And it was sort of like that last week with the amount of inside 50s. But I thought the defence had set themselves up really well.
Yeah.
But Plowman was just... His issue was he was just in a bad starting position every single time. He just kept being slightly behind or not goal side of De Goey or Elliott multiple times. And so when that guy did get onto that lead, and another issue is there was so much space for them to lead into. So I do agree with that. But you'd think he'd try to adjust and fix your starting position if it's the fourth one in about 3 minutes that they've kicked on you. It just seemed like, and I don't know if it was tactically in the coach's box because it took until after half time for them to change what Plowman was doing. I think he went to Cox for a little bit to try and change things. But whether it's him, whether it's the coaches, he was being given a bath out there and nothing seemed to be changing.
Yep.
And so that's where I think I'm pretty annoyed with Plowman. And probably the biggest thing that everyone's cracking it at him is the giggling on TV. I don't know if you've seen too much of that, what your opinion is. I think there was something about this last year, I remember, and I had the opinion of, I don't think it really matters too much. Obviously, it's not good, but I don't think the players are necessarily not caring.
Yep.
But the bigger issue was, for me, not necessarily the one after the game, because I think it is very easy to somewhat switch off after the game. I know a lot of them did look quite dejected afterwards, like Walsh and guys like that. Yeah. There was one where I think it was Sard and SPS standing there, and they were both you could just tell they were seething after that performance, seething after the loss. But it was the one in the game from Plowman where him and De Goey are in the goal square. He's just kicked another goal on him, and they're just having a giggle.
Yeah.
And, I think Terry from Blue Abroad mentioned that apparently someone from the cheer squad or something yelled out being like, don't laugh, Lockie, this isn't funny. And then apparently he then went to go and started laughing back at the supporter. I don't know if that actually happened. It's hard to know. It's not coming from me, so it's always hard to know. But yeah, just the giggling mid-game after someone's kicked their third goal on you, not a good look for me. And it almost seems like a bit systematic when you look at how we were performing, how he was playing. You see those little things and you go, are you switched on enough? Because you've got to be. And there was no intensity the whole game. He's getting absolutely killed. For me, it's almost droppable for that to make an example that hey, that's not good enough. I want Teague to have that footage up as one of the first things in the rooms and just be like, hey, What are you doing here, you idiot? That's disgraceful. All these fans are here and you give that effort. You're laughing. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm not real happy with it, to be honest.
Sure. To be honest, I think I have changed my tune on that because I was in the same as you last year with this
Frustrating to
issue.
watch.
Because and they also know that they're under the spotlight,
Yeah.
and the camera is going to be on them. So, I think he does have that kind of responsibility to not have a gag.
He's one of our leaders as well, which is a bigger issue because we've said all last season for a lot of our losses that is it the leaders? Do we not have them? And then to see your leader do that, it's not a good look, not good optics.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, one thing just on, I suppose, the him bringing lead to the ball, something I've never really, I have realised it, but it was really apparent in this game, was how much that Collingwood forwards were blocking for each other.
Yes. I did
Something
notice
that I feel like we never do.
No.
And so Mason said we weren't going to talk about him last week, but he's going to come up a bit. He was actually doing a fantastic job. They were standing in pairs in the square, and he would just basically grab onto whoever their man was. A metre is all that they need to be able to get that space. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, they should have done something to counteract that or whatever. Yeah. But that's just another thing that it's like, why don't we do that? Why isn't Darcy Moore getting put on his ass so that Harry has a paddock?
Well, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, we know what Collingwood want to do and how they want to set up in a couple of things. And it's like with Lockie Plowman again, I don't want to completely throw him under the bus because there's definitely a lot of other players that deserve the heat. And this is probably one of the most pro Plowman podcasts out there. Especially considering last week I sort of said that was the most complete performance and how good is that? And then he turns this one on. But yeah, it's hard with these sort of things because you look at our forward line and, the amount of times we just don't block, it's almost as if we always try to go for the mark ourselves. It's not one guy doing the selfless thing, standing down, making that block. It's no, let's all jump up and go for the mark ourselves, and then we stuff it up. And clearly the game plan for Collingwood was, isolate Plowman in the goal square because he struggles one-on-one. Like, we know that. That's a deficiency Plowman has. He normally does lose a lot of those one-on-ones.
Yep.
If there's space, he struggles. Just what it is. And they did that. And you'd think we'd do something to try and stop that. And then forward line-wise, we know they just go, okay, Darcy Moore, one of the best intercept markers. They've got some good guys down there at doing that. And so what do? We just float the ball up again. We're not creating space because I think Darcy Moore is a very good defender. But one-on-one, Harry was beating him.
He was.
We give space to Harry, kicks 4 goals on him. They're talking about how good Darcy Moore was. He had 4 goals kicked on him still.
Yeah.
So,
and some of them were a couple were just him being shoved over by Harry. It's like
just make space for us. Our forward line I think the Smalls played pretty decently, but it's like how come every time, as I was sort of saying before with the sort of creating space and things like that, we fight hard for our goals and we just never have easy leads. First quarter, we had a couple with Zach Williams with some of the most beautiful kicks I've ever seen into 50. Good on Levi Casbolt for missing a goal to start the game. But we just never have those easy leads with paddocks of space, just guys running into them all day. But other teams just do it so easily against us. It's just so frustrating.
And what is that on? Is it because is it the forwards not being able to time their leads right?
Yeah.
Is it midfielders and half forwards clogging up space? Is it big guys clogging up space? Do you have any idea, or is it just all of the above?
Yeah.
That we're just the structure isn't right.
It's hard. I think a lot of it has to come down on coaching because they're the ones that implement the structures of the team, and which is a big another debate on how good that is and what our game plan is. But there's so many times, and I don't know if this is structurally, I don't know what it is, but I see it every week. So obviously the coaches are seeing it. And for me, if they're not addressing it, then that's a coach's problem. The amount of times we get the ball and guys are just standing there. We get the ball half back and guys literally are standing in the space. There was one, with their little hand up saying, come on, kick it long.
Send it long.
There was one I saw and it was Jack Nunes and he was just standing there and he literally did that. He just said, come on, just kick it. And I've gone, hey, Jack Nunes, that is where you're standing currently is where we need the ball to go, but no one can make a lead because you're standing in that space. Is it work ethic? What are they doing? You need to move out of the way so guys can then move into that space. But if we're all just standing there, not even moving forward, calling for the ball or making a lead, It's like stupid. It's like either get out
Yep.
the way so someone can lead, or lead yourself. You can't just all stand there stationary.
Lead yourself to create the space for it to be there. I know
just-
it seems so
frustrating.
simple. It seems like the thing that we were doing in Divi 3, but why doesn't it happen? Yeah, I'm with you. It's frustrating, and the other teams just don't do that.
Big question on this, because I'm going very negative. We will get some positives in here. I feel like I'm turning very negative.
Yeah.
But what is our game plan? What is our style of play? Can you tell me?
No, I couldn't tell you.
No idea. Is it just bomb the ball long and hope for the best? Because that's all, and let the other team kick like 6 goals, go in the other way. It's horrendous. I don't know. And we don't have a brand. I don't think any other teams are like worried when you play Carlton. And this is the biggest thing. People are saying, do we like not have the cattle? Are the players not good enough to win these games of footy? And you can make that debate. I don't necessarily know. I'd like to hope that the players are decent. But what I want from this team, regardless of wins and losses, I want every team in the AFL to be like, oh, we've got Carlton this week. We know we've got to work our asses off the whole game because all Carlton are going to do are gang tackle blokes. The intensity is going to be hot from the start. Like, I want to be a tackling side, someone that's feared for being a tough team. And we're weak as piss, to be honest, half the time. We're soft. And this is the issue. We lost, and I don't know the percentage of ball that the teams had. I can't imagine we had a lot of it when you look at that stat. But in a losing team, how can you lose the tackle count? 41 to 65 tackles.
Yeah, tackle count is a bad one.
If you don't have the ball, you have to be tackling. And I mean, it sort of sums up that game of footy and why I was so frustrated. It was like bruise free. We let them run through open spaces and we just don't have that pressure. Lockie Fogarty comes in, he's the only one tackling. And it's like, yeah, because he's probably come from a lot better footy team that's maybe taught this. I don't know. I probably do know where the issues are, and I feel like it's a lot of the coaching. And I'm not saying that's necessarily David Teague. I'm not in the sack David Teague. It could be very hard if we do end up going 0-5, 0-6 on what you do. But for me, it's more looking at the assistants, because we didn't change anything at the end of last season, which I don't know why we didn't. It just seems silly.
Yeah.
We're improving the squad, bringing in players, but we're not improving. We've got the same guys here when Bolton was there, and that wasn't any good. You'd think we'd try and fix something. It seems very strange to me.
Yeah. Well, the toughness is a thing that really always hurts me, and we just don't have those players with the grunt. We spoke about it a bit last week. I just don't understand why, when Mason Cox is forward and the ball slips through his hands and goes out of bounds, why does no one go and shove him?
Yeah.
Why does no one say a word?
Yeah.
They don't do it. And why are we not that team?
Is it because we don't actually believe in ourselves that we're that good? So we don't do that because, hey, if I would probably drop that mark as well or fumble it, you're not going to go up to the next guy and do it? Is that the issue, that we don't have these guys who have been there and done it that maybe have the confidence to go up and do it? But I think either way, just go into these blokes. We have no one that, like, the start of the game, all I wanted to see, because all the fans are so up and about, they know the rivalry, everything to play for. I just wanted, first second of the game, someone just to lay a big tackle, everyone get into them, kind of like we did last year with, I think it was like Mark Murphy went into maybe Pendlebury. I think they had a bit of a back and forth.
Yes.
Like, someone do something. And I'm not saying like hit someone. That'd be just stupid. But someone go and lay a hard tackle and get around the guys. But there's just no one in the team that you go, that's the guy. That's the tough guy. And I think it starts from the top. And is Doherty someone that you think is going to go in hard and lay a couple of tackles?
Definitely not.
What's up with Cripps? What's he doing? He looks like a guy that should, but I haven't seen that ferocity from him.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. No, you're right with those two players. I mean, yeah, it's not that I want them to be silly.
Yeah,
and I don't want them to do things like that, but no one ever grabs someone by the jumper, like if something happens or, Another thing, there was a few times where, like, I don't know, one of our players and a Collingwood player would hit the deck.
Yep.
2 Collingwood players help that bloke up.
Yep.
Our bloke gets to his feet on his own. It's just like under 10 stuff.
Yeah.
Pick up your players, get around them. Oh,
It was like that last week, and I don't think we really touched on this, when Doherty basically had a goal sort of kicked on him by Bolton, and then Bolton gives him a bit of a shove. Now, Doherty looked like he was about to kill Bolton, which I did like from him, that he was going, hey, don't do that. I was angry myself watching the TV. And I think like the only person from us that went in to have a crack was Lockie O'Brien.
Yes, I remember.
And he's done that. He does that multiple times.
Yeah, I thought
bash
the same
him
thing.
as much as you want, but I do see that in him where he's like, I'll go at you. But no one else did. And I thought that was ridiculous because it just almost shows a bit of lack of fight. It's that optics again, whether it is or it isn't, when we're not showing that fight and you can see these little things, like a couple of years ago where Mark Murphy got killed by Mumford and no one does a thing.
Yep.
It's like systematic of this culture. And for me, that has to start with the leaders. If the leaders aren't doing it, what do you do? I mean, Cripps and Doherty, both out of form. You can definitely say that. Both not playing their best footy. Plowman, another leader, they're not playing his best footy in this game. So it's like, what do you do if your leaders aren't stepping up and playing well? And they're quite inexperienced. They haven't won anything. Even the other guys like a Murphy, like a Kerner, Casbolt, they're the older senior heads. Liam Jones, they've never done it. There is no one in this team that has been there and done it. No one in the coach's box really that's been there and done it. And it seems like the same thing we said last year, but something needs to change. Something needs to change with this team. And for me, if nothing is done next week and it's the exact same thing, like, I don't know what the podcast will be next week. It'll just be like, we'll just change. I'll edit over any time we said Collingwood and just chuck Freo in there, I think.
And the last thing on just the opposite side of that, with the positivity thing, Brad kicked his first goal in a senior game.
I was going to say this.
And I've never seen less players get around someone for their first goal. And it made me, I felt sick.
Yeah. Because I didn't realize he hadn't kicked one either. But as soon as they said that, it's like, you'd know the amount of times that a player that's played like 50 games or something like that finally kicks a goal. Like Plowman finally kicks a goal, they get around him. Pitt kicks one.
Two blokes go to him.
Nothing. It was as if he just kicked a point and they're like, oh, keep going. It's just so much negativity from me.
I know. And I don't want to be like this.
Yeah, me either.
And it's, where's the improvement next week?
Yes.
And there is places for it.
Yeah.
And is it personnel? And is it game style? I just think a really, really easy thing to change is be angrier at the opposition and be friendlier to the team.
Yes.
Get around the players more. We were speaking last year about, here we go.
The ruffling of their head. I remember we used to love, like, someone had stuffed something up from the opposition team. You go over and ruffle his hair. I liked it. Intensity. We played our best footy when we, like against Geelong and Doggies, always bring it up. What did we do that whole game?
Yep.
Tackled. As soon as that ball hit the ground in our forward 50, tackle, turnover, we get the ball, kick a goal. Yep. It's simple, but it's not there. If your tackle pressure isn't there, and if you're starting to lose the contest, which it's hard because Collingwood do have a more experienced, probably bigger midfield, it's always going to be something we slightly struggle with, in my opinion. I'm not sure we have the full depth in that midfield just yet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. You just have to win, have to tackle, otherwise you're just going to get smashed. It's disgraceful.
And going back to your first point about teams, we want opposition teams to be scared to face us. Yeah, it's not there. And I just think that that's an easy step to get in that direction. And then the next step is just to play good footy.
Yep. Because if you don't have the skills to win, if you don't have that experience to win, you just have to make it as hard as possible. Because we'll all sit back and it's not these honourable losses garbage again, but you're not going to be happy. Like the Richmond game, I wasn't happy, but I still saw some signs and it was close and you weren't expecting to win. So you went in and you're like, okay, I can still see some things. I did think we tackled hard, we fought hard. I'm not stoked on it. But okay, next week we go and we win against a team that we think we can beat. And then to just drop off and not have everything that was good about that first week, it's frustrating. It is incredibly frustrating. Do you have any other reasons that you thought that we did lose that game of footy?
Well, I was ready to switch into positivity mode, so I'll hear you out on other points that you have.
Yeah, so we will get positive at some stage. We have to. There were still some decent things in there. For me, just overall, I think, and I've titled this in a certain way, I think we have too many question mark players. So to elaborate on that is,
I like where you're going with this.
are they in the best 22? Are they not in the best 22? Are they good yet? Are they not good? Guys that we just haven't reached their potential. We've got so many of them. Plowman, Williamson, Setterfield, Fisher, Dow, SPS. There's quite a few others. There's others that aren't in the team at the moment, like a Stocker, Kemp, Philp. I feel like there's too many. There's way too many guys that you're going, have they taken that next step? Will they take the next step? There's just not enough solidity in the team of, you're a good player, we know you're good, you've proven it, you're consistent.
Yep.
And like, I don't know how you fix that, because obviously like that's a list management, that's a development thing. And I think we obviously went to address that, bringing in Zach Williams, bringing in Adam Sard, even a Fogarty to an extent. But at the moment, there's just too many question marks on guys, and you're only bringing in more question mark guys that are potentially have more question marks on them. Like you bring in like a Cottrell, you bring in a Kennedy, and is that going to improve things? I don't know. Sorry to take the absolute negative look on our list and say that these guys aren't good enough, but it's frustrating that, you know, you look at Freo, you look at Sydney, these other teams that their youth is just coming through, playing great footy. Sydney are winning games from it. And you're going, where's ours? You know, I think Fisher's taking steps, but has he taken enough steps? He's only kicked, 1 goal in 2 games as the small forward. Anytime he gets the ball outside 35 metres, he automatically looks like he's going to pass the ball. It's just like the little footy smarts with him, just to go on a little side rant to this one. But, okay, opposition, no, you can't kick that far. You know you can't kick that far. How about make it look like you can, instead of obviously making it look like you're either going to handball the ball off or kick to a leading target? Just go, I'm going to go back and kick this one. And then he creates space. But if everyone knows what you're doing because you're telegraphing it, it's just stupid. It makes no sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like where you went with that, because I was thinking about a similar thing in the game, but an even smaller subset of players that just don't let you down or reliable players.
Reliability's key.
So Sard is one that I look at where I'm like, so rarely he does something terrible.
Yeah.
Like his player burns him or whatever. He's so reliable. Collingwood, I was like, Crisp doesn't let you down. Pendles, side bottom. These guys, like they just don't, you can just rely that they're always going to be at least good.
Yeah, it's like one of them may have a bad game, but hey, there's another 6 of them. So it shouldn't matter. They're not all going to play horrendously.
Is Cripps that?
Well, he hasn't been in 2 years. He wasn't last year, hasn't been so far this year. He's shown little glimpses. Yeah. Maybe this is the perfect spot for my little Cripps rant and just the whole team rant. Forward handballs. Why do we handball the ball forward anytime we're under pressure in a contest? And Cripps is the most serial offender in this. Now, I didn't play amazing footy myself. But
we'll let the record show that.
I did win a best and fairest in a horrendous footy team, but we'll take that.
Had best on in the grand final.
In a Divi 3, we love that.
Yep.
Mate, get me in Division 6, unreal. But yeah, off that Cripper, their forward handballs, I reckon in under 16, the coach came round with this new little concept to all of us. He said, hey, we're no longer handballing the ball forward. Because what does that do? If you're handballing it to a guy forward of the stoppage most of the time, he's running back into the contest. It's either running back into the contest, or now, because it's half the time ours are big looping handballs, it's a hospital pass to the guy. He's going to get tackled straight away. It doesn't create space. It just puts more pressure because everyone's already running forward. If everyone's running forward, you're just continually moving the pressure forward. He told me in under 16s, the coach, he said, hey, we handball backwards. We have a guy in the quarterback position. You can call it whatever you want. So many different names for it. There's a guy back there, under pressure in the contest. Look out the back. There's always a guy there. Why do we never have a guy there? This is under 16s footy garbage. Patrick Cripps, every single time, he tries to do too much, gets tackled, forward handball to someone that's under way more pressure. Every single time. Sard's another one. We always give it to him under pressure. And we're just not getting the best out of these guys. I don't get it. Why are we handballing the ball forwards? That is clearly a tactical thing because our good passages of play also seem to come from over-the-top handballs.
I was just going to say that.
But it just doesn't make sense because it just puts you under so much pressure. You need to get the ball out the back to give yourself time and space to set things up.
Yeah, that's really hard. You made a good point there, because there a few of the really good plays that I remember are where we have the ball, draw the player, and then handball over the top. Draw the player, handball, and it's good. And then as soon as that breaks down, we're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we get killed on the rebound, which we like to do. So yeah, I'm with you there. I especially noticed that last week, where it was like so many times, under pressure and close, whip it out the back.
Yeah. I don't get it because it's so average. As I said, it's under 16s football. You don't forward handball. You put yourself under more pressure. It happens every single time. And I think that's the annoying thing with Cripps, because the amount of times instead of going backwards where he's not the fastest player, he can create himself so much more space, but instead he runs into the contest. The amount of times he gets the ball and we're almost out and he just goes, oh yeah, I'll take the man on. Now that was fun last week when he was, dominating, and it can pay off, but it's the risky option. And now is that the problem where we're not having a guy there to take the pressure off? Is that game plan? Is that our players aren't smart enough? I don't know, but don't run back into the contest. It's just silly, and he's getting caught. Other players are getting caught, and that's not going to help anyone's confidence. I don't know if that's why Cripper's playing so bad, because he's a slow player, and we just need guys around him to be in the proper position that if he is under pressure, handballs the ball out. He's a good handballer of the ball. Just don't do it forward.
Well, maybe is it then the fact that, so if the player at the back, say we're in our back half, you would think that it would be maybe our loose defender
an SPS,
at the back.
A guy that uses the ball normally quite well.
That's what I was going to say.
If he was kicking well.
That's what I was going to say. Who would that player be? Because someone like Doc would probably normally be on his man.
Yeah.
So who would that loose player be? Because if it's a mid, well, it's not going to be Ed Kerner.
No.
It's not going to be Cripps.
No.
Like, I guess it's Walsh.
You don't want it to be Walsh.
No, because he's going to be in there as well. So is it Williams?
Is it Nunes?
Maybe, yeah.
Is it Setterfield?
Yeah, but you need to be a player who can run and kick well and make a good decision. I would think that, not to, just being realistic, if Nunes was that player, I could see him just bombing it each time.
That's what we do.
So I could see that Saad being good in that position, but he's going to have a man to be on.
Yeah.
So he's not going to, I don't know. I definitely think that that's where we need to go. But I want to know who that is and how that would look.
But it's just a structural thing. I mean, it's at the contest, so you can allow to be slightly off your play if you're there, because the odds are, regardless, if you lose the contest, you have a man defensive side of the play.
Exactly.
So if the ball's running through, he's there. But he's also your outlet. And we just seem to not do it. It's hard because I wasn't at the game, so I could not see the setup as well. But seeing how many forward handballs we seem to do week in, week out, it's something I will see when we play Freo. And it's going to be something I keep a big eye on, because it does not make sense. It doesn't seem like the smart thing to do at all.
Yeah, it does seem that is kind of in place of... It solves the issue of players not leading, because if there's no one leading, then what are you going to do? Well, you're going to handball it to the short guy that's free. So if players were leading into that space, I think maybe there wouldn't be the need for the forward handball.
Like, I don't mind the big forward handball when it's like, we're running with the ball in space, and obviously you got to get to him. Kicking to him's the dumb option. But it's the ones where you're under pressure in the contest. We always
just get it forward. Just get it forward. Yeah, like that kind of mindset.
Our kicks forward are horrendous. Our inside 50s. The amount of times when we need to go slow and stop things, slow it down, take the pace out of the game, we rush it and we kick. And Paddy Dow did this really poorly. I think we were only like 9 points down at this stage, or potentially went to 15, and we pretty much in the last quarter we needed a goal. I remember watching this, and basically I can't remember who kicked it to him, and in my head I was like, you idiot, you've gone too fast. Dow's on a 2-on-1. Somehow he kicked it beautifully. Dow took a great mark, and it did kind of work off there. But then you're going, okay, I can see you have like pretty much like no one to kick to. I think it was sort of like potentially Fisher. You either go really quickly or you hold it up. Those are your two options. What did he do? He waited. And then instead of just completely waiting your 100% time and waiting for guys to go there, he kicked it when it was too late for that option, but not, holding the ball up, stuffs it up. I think we maybe get a point from it. And it's like, just have some footy smarts. Either kick it quickly or just wait for the options. Stop just kicking it and hoping. The amount of times we kick to no one or 7 Collingwood players. You don't have to always rush. I know that obviously the game plan is fast ball movement. That's the way the game's being played. But we just don't seem intelligent enough to just, okay, there's no options. How about I don't just kick it to the Collingwood player? It makes it bewilders me how if you have the ball and you see 2 Collingwood players in the area that you're probably designed to kick to from the game plan, and you go, oh, there's no one there. Would you not go, hey, let's not kick there. Let's look for something else. It's like we just always go that first option where we think we're meant to go. And another thing, our game plan, it's like we don't get it yet. You look at the St Kilda game, you look at Richmond, obviously, Collingwood. When they get the ball, their ball movement is so smart, crisp. They know what it is.
Yep.
It's, you get it here, handball, out of the contest, done. Every time we get the ball, you don't know. Players don't know where players are meant to be. They get themselves into trouble. They do the forward handball because there's just not players there. And sometimes we do it and we it's there. We have those passages of play with the little string handballs through the middle of the ground, and it looks incredible. But then all the other times at every stoppage, the setup is horrendous. I've got so much heat on the coaches, I think, this week because there's been another year so far where I'm seeing the same issues that were there last year that don't seem to be being addressed. And that's probably the biggest issue, that going into this game, sort of last year with COVID, different things like this, you go, okay, that's fine. We wanted finals. We didn't just get there. This season, that expectation's there. We want to see improvements. And I think I even said last week that, okay, there's definitely improvement. We've improved from last year. And then we turn around this week and do exactly what we did last year in sort of every facet. And I'm just worried that there isn't going to be this sharp improvement anymore. And I don't know where it's coming from because I'm not seeing it week in, week out. There is no consistency with this playing group.
Yeah. And I'm trying not to live in the moment too much because I'm hoping that next Sunday night we can look back and be like, oh, what were we worried about? You know?
Well, that's sort of the weird thing. And this is where I will be positive as much as I've been negative so far. But like the positive thing for me is we could win our next 2 games. We've got Freo, we've got Gold Coast, 2 more winnable games. Do you forget the first 2 games of the round of the year? What if we win our next one? Then we win it. Like, so easily this could get turned around. And that's where you have to be positive because unfortunately we probably haven't seen enough to know that that's going to happen. And that's where fans are frustrated because you're not seeing the proof that we will go into next week and beat a depleted Freo in Melbourne, which we should. But you've got to hope we do. You've got to believe we can because kind of there's no other point of being a supporter if you're not going into the next game going, why not? Why not let myself, allow myself to believe in this team?
Agree.
Because there's just no other point of being a supporter, in my opinion.
I agree. And we, what did we say our 4-game pass mark was? 2-2?
Yep.
That's what we said. And so if you're going to lose 2 games, look, I'm not going to try and be toxically positive here because I feel like that's the way this sentence is going. But we could very easily look back on this and go, we thought we were going to be 2-2. We are 2-2.
Yep. It's just the fact that we now have put way more pressure on ourselves to do so. Gold Coast playing some good footy. Freo are a good side. They've got a lot of injuries. But yeah, we just have to go out there and prove it. It's sort of enough of this. Let's talk about where will we improve? Will we be better? The boys just have to go out there and do it because they didn't this week. And I know there'll be a lot of boys angry. They should be. I hope there's been a lot of words this week from the coaches, from the players, big honest review of everyone. Show every little bit of play where someone has, not gone for the tackle, done all that sort of stuff, every mistake, and get these boys galvanised to be like, hey, look, we've played pretty poor against Collingwood. We were in that game. 3/4 time, you were still 9 points down. So you're not that far off it if you can sort this out. That's where my big positive positivity
good.
will come from. So
I agree, and
Yeah.
that's why at the game it was hard for me to be too negative because
Yeah.
there was that sense of belief there. So we can turn it around.
100%.
for sure.
Definitely can. Now, to go into some more positivity,
love
let's
that.
talk about some good players.
Yes, I
let's
love
talk
this.
about some performances now that we've got that all out of the way. How good was Lockie Fogarty?
I don't want to spoil
He's
my
a
free
find.
votes, but he's a find.
Unreal.
2 weeks ago, I was questioning whether he was going to be best 22, and he is secure.
I just love what he brings. That hungry tackles. Had 4, which is good. 21 disposals. Got around the footy quite well. You know, wins the contested ball, uses it decently. 22 pressure acts. He's just there giving what you want him to give, basically.
Yep.
He's that one bringing the intensity, the chase downs, using the ball well. He got his goal. He didn't get the
I was gonna
first
say,
one.
made amends.
He does need to fix the goal kicking because struggled with that last week. And I think, but we've got a player there. We've definitely got a player, which is exciting to see. Where they will play him in the next couple of years will be what I'm excited to see. We sort of got him as that, forward pocket, half forward. I don't know if you end up moving him on a wing, if he does end up being another one of our midfielders, because they've sort of trained him a little bit in both in pre-season game against Essendon. He attended a few centre bounces. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's where they maybe see him progressing once he maybe puts on a bit more size, gets a bit more experience. But having him in the forward line, I love it.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. And I could see him being a really good defensive forward, being maybe the player that goes onto their best half back or that kind of thing.
And the fact that we've got options with him because he can seem to play these other positions, it's just incredible. He is an absolute find. So thank you for Geelong for finally giving us one. I mean, we've taken enough of their duds, so it's about time, I think.
Yes, and given enough good players to them as well.
Yeah.
And with the 4 tackles, it feels like he has more because every tackle he does is impactful.
Yeah. It's
He
like a
stops
holding the
players
ball.
in their tracks or it's a holding the ball.
I love it. What did you make of Zach Williams' first outing for us?
Well,
A little bit mixed for me, but what did you see?
yeah, definitely mixed. I went to the game with my lovely girlfriend, who's a Collingwood supporter, and she was very gracious in their victory. But one of the things she said towards the end of the game was, she was like, "You're excited about Zach Williams, weren't you? Haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Haven't really noticed him." And I was like, yeah, haven't really noticed him either. Oh, I've noticed him, but not as much as I thought.
as much
10
as you probably
clearances.
thought. That's the big thing. Definitely, I think every Carlton supporter, knowing he's his run-off halfback and how he played, was assuming he'd be that sort of outside runner.
Yep.
He was the contested bull. He was sort of what we expect Cripper to be, which is kind of odd. Won a lot of his footy. We know he's not the best user of the ball, but I mean, those couple of inside 50s.
Oh,
The bullet passes. Finally,
The bullet to Martin was
someone
delicious.
in the side that lowers their eyes, kicks to a leading player in our forward line. We need
to do it every time.
I don't know why we don't. He's shown it can happen, and I think he potentially was struggling a little bit with maybe not playing last week. But I'm just so excited for it. He's another good player in our midfield that we didn't have last year.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see him progress. I think he sort of tailed out a little bit in the sort of last quarter, but I'm happy enough with what I saw. I'm not disappointed. I was maybe hoping for a bigger game, but you can't be unhappy with what he did. Probably the only couple of things, his negatives were a couple of his holding the balls and turnovers.
Well, I was going to say it's a game of centimetres, and if he kicked that one in the last quarter a second before, kicks the goal, we're back in it.
Yep.
You'd say he's had an amazing game. But I do agree. It was his first game.
He slipped a couple of times, went into trouble, tried to take that player on. But I'm not annoyed because he wants to. And he's someone that I believe can take that player on, can break those tackles. I think he'll figure it out. Especially, he hasn't played a heap of midfield time.
No.
So he's someone that, I'm still happy. It was probably a 6 or 7 out of 10. Wasn't incredible, but not the worst first game I've ever seen him on.
No, definitely. Still got the pill, all those things. It's going to come. I was very positive with him.
Another one, Gibbons.
Yeah.
Kicks two goal of the year contenders in that game.
Yep.
He's becoming a really handy, little small forward for us. He's kicked 3-1 in that game. That is ridiculous. He seemed to do it a little bit last year. He started, kicking those little goals, and he just does it. Whenever he's near the ball, he seems to do good things. If we can get the ball down there better, I think he's only going to kick more goals.
Agree. He's a bit of a Cunningham like that he does seem to always do good things against the ball, and 15 touches is fine. And and if he manages to get even more than that, he just always seems to do good things. So you'll always take 3 goals from Gibbo. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, happy with him too.
Yeah, another one, Martin.
Yeah.
Love Jack Martin. Back into the team. Kicks, 3 goals, which is unreal.
Yeah.
He was going at 92% efficiency from his 12 disposals.
He does use it so well.
10 of those were kicks. What I loved so much about Martin, and I had this in one of my notes, I believe we only had him, I'm just trying to look at my notes here, his centre bounces, only in the 5 centre bounces, but there was one I noticed, I think it was the 3rd quarter, we threw him in there, got the clearance, there you go.
Yeah.
Just did what our midfield wasn't doing. Every time you put him on the ball, he creates things, whether it's just the dash and the run. It might not always come off because it's never going to in centre bounces and stoppages, but you can just see he's trying to create something. And it surprised me that I thought we struggled a little bit again in the midfield, but we threw him in there and he was playing well, and then we took him out. It doesn't make sense to me that if you have a player like Jack Martin, that every time he gets the ball, he's another one in those players that don't seem to get enough of it, but when they do, they are so good. So it shocks me a little bit that if we were struggling, if maybe a Dow isn't getting the ball as much as we want, Ed Kerner's using it as badly as he always does, and we just need that other guy in there, and Martin does it well, why we then don't use that and utilise it more. For me, I found that a little bit strange.
Yeah. And he had the 12 disposals. If he's getting 22 disposals, he's
We're winning
one
games.
of the best players in our
games.
team. Yeah. It actually was surprising me. I thought he did have a bit more than that, than just the 12, because it does feel like whenever he gets it, it's normally a lace-out pass and
I think it's just, I don't know if it's necessarily him, a fitness, whether he doesn't have the tank, and that's maybe why he floats in and out of games a little bit.
Could be.
But if we can find ways to get him involved more, I mean, it's hard because you chuck him down forward and we don't kick it to anyone, so he's probably not going to win the ball there. But if we can get the ball in Martin's hands, we will win so many games of footy because he either kicks a goal, creates something. We just need to figure out how to make that work. Another positive player is Big Harry.
Yeah, I was hoping that was the next one.
Big time from last week. I gave him a little bit of stick for his decision making. What I really loved, I don't know if you noticed this at the game, there was one where Harry takes the mark, Zach Williams goes over. Just goes over to him, just calms him down, just go, take your time, don't worry. I love that. Finally, a player in our team with some fucking smarts that goes up to Harry after he struggled a bit last week with the play on, not having the cool head. Finally, a leader comes in and just goes over to him. Hey, just take your 30 seconds.
You got this.
Settle down. You can kick this goal. Easy. What does he do? Goes back, kicks it. More of this, please. Harry played very, very well.
Yeah.
Took his chances, kicked the goals, had a bit more of that composure this week. Kicked 4?
Yeah.
That is beautiful. That's what we want from him every week.
Composure, exactly. He did not look worried. All his goals looked nice. Yeah, I exactly right. I don't have much more to say about Harry because Moore did a good job in parts and he's getting a massive rap for how he played. And he did do some good things and he outmarked Harry at times and Harry slipped a few times and that kind of thing. But also, there was a few times where he just burnt him on a lead, pushed him to the ground and took the mark. Moore completely misread the ball in the air. Harry didn't. I don't know. It's just pretty even.
If we isolate those two, Harry wins 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Which we just didn't do enough. We know how Collingwood want to play with Darcy Moore. They want to get numbers to the contest, big balls in, big sky balls into that forward line.
And we were letting them do that.
But then as soon as we would hit Harry up on a lead, isolate them a little bit, kicks 4 goals.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's good to see Harry bounce back, get that bit of confidence in him, get those goals, which is what we always love to see. So I think Harry's just going to be big again for us next week. We just have to get him the ball in good positions, which is something we sometimes struggle with. Another good one, I thought Walshy played very well again.
Me too.
29 disposals. He's just so good. He's so good around the contest. And what I loved from his performance compared to probably last week was I thought he struggled a little bit early. I didn't think he was having his best game, but managed to dig deep, turn it around. And that doesn't seem to happen a lot for our players. It's either like they have a bad game for the whole game or they have a good game. There's no sort of fighting back. And I love that from Walsh. He sort of never gives up. He's that hard gut running player that we know he is. And he'll will himself to contest and he'll find a way to come out with a better performance than a worse performance every week.
Mm-hmm. I think he is our best player.
Yeah,
at the start of this season, I still thought it was Cripps, and I think he's overtaken him now. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, unfortunately with Cripps being a little bit down, I think, Walsh is probably our most important midfielder. So maybe to go on some negative, we're bringing back the negativity.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm doing this week. But there's a couple of individual performances that I thought were really, really poor.
Yep.
Now, there's one in particular. I'm not sure if you'll guess who I'm going to be talking about, but it's Will Setterfield.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just was not there.
Yep.
Had 9 disposals. The most glaring issue with him. Do you know you might have seen the stat, but do you know how many meters gained he had in the whole game?
No.
19.
9 disposals, 19 gained.
That is horrendous. I mean, I do agree. I think we are playing him out of position on the wing. I don't know why we're doing it. I don't think he's a winger. He plays his best game as an inside mid. But when it comes to it, for me, if we're choosing to play you in a role and you're not executing your role, you're out of the team. Mm-hmm. If we're not playing him in the guts, in the center of things, and he's not playing well, for me, we'll get to our changes later, but for me, Setterfield's out next week.
Okay.
If they're going to play him on the wing again, because I've seen 2 games of it, and he's been awful.
Mm-hmm. He wouldn't be my first to drop, but I agree with everything that you're saying. It hurts because we were excited about the wing concept before these 2 games. I think you're right. 9 disposals isn't enough. Yeah, I didn't notice him. I didn't notice him.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because he was one, and there's another player as well that's very similar that played so well last year. And it was, we've got a player that's got to take that next step. And they've gone backwards.
I'm more upset with that player.
Yeah, it's Willow, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's going on? That's 2 weeks in a row. He's trying to take on too many players.
Yeah.
And he's not winning them. He just looks a shell of himself. I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know what's going on from Willow. I don't know if they've tried to change his role and that just isn't working. At the 5 disposals, but sometimes it's not even about that because he is playing a defensive role, but he's just not. He's not beating his direct opponent. He's not bringing that dash. What I loved from Willow last year was just his attack, his hunger.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that, is going to give you 100% and, he might stuff some things up. He's a little bit erratic, but God, he's just ferocious and he does things.
Yeah.
And he's not doing them this year.
No, he's still got the erratic.
Yeah.
But
it's not the good erratic that we like.
No. It's the every time he gets the ball, I'm worried that he's about to get a hold on the ball. Yeah, it's not there. He would be the first on my list of where the improvement can come from personnel-wise, where we can make some changes.
I think, he's struggling. And this is the thing that I think, especially with these 2, they're not players that I'm going, that's them done.
Of course.
They can turn this around easily, but unfortunately at the moment they're not performing in the ones. Go to the VFL, get your confidence back up, then come back in. Because we have guys that you can bring in for these
Plenty of players trying to get into this squad right now. Absolutely.
Just on that, can you believe that we didn't have a VFL practice match this week?
Yeah, why was that?
We didn't schedule one. All the other teams basically did. I've seen Dangerfield stroll out in Geelong 2s, and we're just like, you know what? Big important game against Collingwood. A lot of fringe players now. A lot of guys coming out from injury, need some time in their legs. You know what we should do?
Give Marchie a run.
Just not play this week. A's just shocking. I don't know who's in charge of that. But does that just sum up how poorly managed this football club is?
It seems strange. It seems strange. I'd like to hear an explanation.
Yeah. Because you've got guys like Stocker that we're liking, Parks, these few kind of players. Just, they need games. Lockie O'Brien gets dropped because he wasn't good enough. He can't come back into the team after not playing.
Yeah. Marchie can't come straight in next week.
Yeah, it's bewildering that we didn't have anything for these guys.
Keep Sauce fit if you could have a little run.
I don't get it. It's odd. A couple of others that people have been quite upset with. People are upset with Mark Murphy's performance. I've seen a lot of that.
Yes.
Where do you sit with that?
I didn't think he played very well, personally.
What didn't you like? What wasn't good? I just want to
Yeah,
hear
of
some
course.
perspective.
I think he seemed nervous whenever he had the ball.
Okay.
And he didn't fill me with confidence when he had the ball.
That's fair.
He's one of my favourite players.
Yep. Love
So
Murph.
I don't like to say it. But I was shocked when I saw that he had 18 disposals. It felt like he had a lot less impact than that to me. And when I was at the game, he was one of the guys that I was thinking, Murphy is not playing next week.
Yeah.
for
Okay.
me.
Okay. That's big.
But I'd like to hear where you thought was positive.
I don't think it was amazing. Not going to say he played a stellar performance. I think similar to potentially how you feel with Setterfield, I think there's so many other issues. What I did really like from Murph was 13 pressure acts, 8 score involvements.
I was surprised with the score involvements.
8 score involvements, that's sort of his role. Now, he didn't kick the goals, which is probably what we need him to do. We know he's not going to be that big tackler because he simply can't physically impose himself on games anymore. His shoulders, they don't allow him to do it.
Yeah.
It's been like that for years. So we know that from Mark Murphy, but what he does do is he's meant to be the guy who can use the ball well, kick that ball into our forward 50. And I thought when he gets it, he does those good things. His issue at the moment is he probably isn't winning enough of the ball, but I can't really blame him when our midfield transitioning the ball forward is so poor.
I do agree with that.
What can he do when we're not using him how we'd need to be used in that position? Now, what I probably would like from Murphy is to still be playing maybe a little bit midfield, attend a couple of centre bounces, get around the stoppages a bit more. I get we probably want more development into some other guys like a Dow, keep Walsh in there. But, it just seems odd that we're just completely using him in the forward line and not using him at all, when I thought last year he still did play some really good games of footy. Like the Gold Coast one, he torched it.
Yeah.
He still has miles in the legs. Just put him in there a couple of times. It doesn't have to be the whole game. But especially for someone like him that I feel like sometimes still struggled to get into the game, chuck him in there for one. Get his hands on the footy. It's only going to be. It's not going to be a bad thing having him in a centre bounce.
I think that's all valid, and I don't think they will drop him either because I don't want.
I hope they don't, because I personally didn't see him as being the worst, and the guys coming in, I don't think are going to be using the ball as well and setting up those shots of goal.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Everyone's calling for a big. Make some big changes.
Yeah.
Drop 4 players, drop 5 players. I just think that's counterproductive to make such a big change to the lineup. I hope they do make changes on form.
Yeah.
But I just don't believe in that personally.
That's probably where we're going to disagree. I do want quite a lot of changes this week. Which I think when we'll get to that, I can at least maybe try to make my case for it. You can make your case why you think we should stick with a couple of guys. One person that I guess a lot of maybe saying to come in for Murphy isn't Eddie Betts.
Yep.
And I think I'm starting to get into the camp that I don't think you can have both in the forward line. Just because both not really quick. Does Eddie Betts tackle as much and have as much pressure anymore? I'm not sure that's going to be the best dynamic, especially when these small forwards are doing well. Fogarty, Gibbons, I think Fisher's, he's playing fine. I think we need more goals from him, but he's not horrendous. I just don't want to be dropping those guys for an Eddie Betts.
Yeah.
And I also don't really want to drop Murphy for Eddie Betts. So that's going to be interesting to see how he comes in. Teague seems to say he's still in our best 22. I think if you've still got a guy like a Silvani to come into, who we both agree is definitely in our best, I don't know where you're dropping, and I don't think Betts still comes into that team.
Yeah, it would have been Cunningham for me ahead of Betts. I wouldn't have said Murphy for Betts. That was where I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's what we want Cunningham to be, is that what we think Murph is. But he just hasn't been consistent enough, I don't think.
Yeah, no,
so
agree.
far.
And like I said, I think there's other players to drop before him. So
agree.
No, that's
and
fair.
Is one of the players you want to drop? Oh God, there's one I just want to drop. This is going to be the harshest I think I've ever been on this podcast. I'm happy to cop, some shit for this because
I'm not ready for who this might be.
I don't want to go all nuffy and just be like, I never want to see this person. But look, has been a good servant of this footy club.
Oh no, I'm worried about who you're going to say.
I'm sure he is absolutely lovely bloke and all of this.
Oh no.
But I don't know. I can't remember if I did say this last week. It was a note I've had, But we cannot be a good football club if this man is still in our team.
Oh, no. I don't
Levi
agree.
Casbolt.
Oh, I thought you were going to say someone else.
No, I said Levi Casbolt. Who do you think I was going to say?
Kerner.
I do want Kerner out of the team as well, but we'll get to that.
I thought he was better, but yeah, go on Levi.
Casbolt,
I think Casbolt is dropped.
he's a guy that we've had in our team for however many years, and we know what it is. He's a good contested mark, can't kick.
Yep.
Why persist with that for this many years? That's something that has perplexed me a little bit, where he's clearly not a grand final winning forward. Is the reason he's playing in because he helps in the ruck a little bit? Pito's getting smashed in the ruck anyway, so what does that matter? When you have a guy like Austin McDonald comes in, kicks 3 goals and a half of footy,
Yep.
plays amazingly, does everything he can, he's dynamic, moving around, makes our team look better. Levi Casbolt does nothing, and Levi keeps his spot. If Levi Casbolt keeps his spot this week, David Teague has lost the plot. The match committee, whoever picks the team, I no longer understand what they're going for. And that's the issue for me at the moment, is I'm starting to not feel aligned with what is currently happening. You've got guys still seemingly being played out of position, a Setterfield, an SPS. Don't know what's going on with those. And then you've got a guy like Levi Casbolt that isn't even offering the clunking that he used to. He's not going to be in our premiership team.
That's a fact.
Now, is Oscar McDonald? I don't know, but at least he's younger and has shown more. I do not understand structurally why Levi Casbolt is there. Do I want to see him play for us again? This is harsh. Probably not. I don't want to see him in the team anymore, because what is he going to give us for the future? Nothing. I just don't see it. I don't know if that's too harsh.
If Gov's fit this week, does him or McDonald come in?
Look, you know how much I love Gov, but I probably want Gov to play in the VFL. I want him to earn his spot because he struggled last year. I think we are a better team when he's in. I think he does offer decent ground ball. He loves to move up the ground. He's one of our best set shots in the team, but he just hasn't been consistent. So I would kind of like for him to earn his spot, whereas in my opinion, McDonald has done everything he possibly could to get in the team, and he's not in there. So I don't understand what he's not doing to force his way in. Like, what else could he have done? Great in preseason, great when he came on.
Yep.
What else can the man do?
I do agree. Yep. That would be my change, would be to bring in McDonald for Casbolt.
Yeah.
I do agree with everything you said just then.
Yeah. Like, I do think Gov is probably still in that, probably like best. Like, I think he should be better than Oscar McDonald, but he hasn't probably proven it just yet. So get in the VFL, kick some goals, and then you go, oh, well, he has to come in.
God, I hope he comes back fit, Gover.
I hope so. I don't know what his injury is. Was it hamstring, back?
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know what's going on with that man. But you know who's fit? Goat Mac. Goat Mac is fit. Bring that man in. So, was there anything else you probably wanted to touch on in that game at all before we go into some fan thoughts?
It's really hard to say this one as a negative, but I just have to have it on the record.
Okay.
Grundy
Bath
served him.
It was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
It was not
He couldn't
good.
do anything. He couldn't do anything in the ruck, and he wasn't really doing anything around the ground.
It's hard. It's another one that seems really dumb that we didn't really bring in another ruckman.
We were saying it.
Because we know is TDK ready to be the sole ruck in this team? We want him in there, but we probably want someone else to help him around because he can't solo ruck a whole game. Is it Casbolt to be the other one? I don't want it to be. Is Pito going to be the one there? Is Big Bradley the man? I don't know if Brad can go up forward, although every time he seems to be clunking them.
Yeah.
And he did kick his first goal. Can he earn his spot and do that? I don't know. But what I think the Doggies did so well, they got Steph Martin in. How good's he been for him?
I know.
I don't know if you've seen much of the Doggies so far, but he's played
I
well.
did see last week.
he just allows English to go forward and allows English to not have to solo ruck, can learn off him. Instead, it's harsh, but it's Pitt who he's fine on the list if you have an injury, which I think he sort of kind of is at the moment.
Yeah.
But then TDK's not ready yet to be the full ruck. He's probably a couple of years off. But we don't have anyone else. There is not a third ruckman on the list. It seems strange.
And this would be solved if Harry could go into the ruck.
Yeah.
Or, whoever else it was going to be. If they started giving Jones a spell there or something like that, I don't know. But there's none of those options are going to happen. So.
No.
Yeah.
And none of us were expecting Brad to win that contest with Grundy.
No.
Grundy's one of the best rucks in the comp. He's probably going to give him a bath, but...
I didn't expect it to be that big.
Yeah, I was hoping still for more of him. Just compete harder. We like it when he tackles and does these things. I didn't feel like we got that from him this week. He'll still turn it around next week, but... Yeah, it puts another question on the ruck position, which is not ideal.
It just seemed every boundary throw in, it was like, okay, Pitt's starting behind, that's okay. Oh, and he just didn't make the contest, and Grundy just tapped it straight
And I feel like
down.
the midfielders never adjusted either to knowing that, hey, we're not going to get any hit outs, so just read the ball off Grundy.
Yep.
It seemed like we struggled with that too. It's frustrating. So
That's my last one.
Yeah, we asked you guys every week. We asked you guys this week what your thoughts were on this game. I've got a couple here. We'll try to speed through these because we've got a couple of questions and we want to get into talking about the Freo game. So the first one was from Sarah Catania, I believe. I'm always bad at last names. I don't know why you allow me to read these out every week. It's just torture. But said midfield didn't step up like I thought they would. Didn't help. Pitto was absolutely smashed in the ruck, which is your point there.
Yep.
No run through the centre like last week. We looked tired, disappointed. What's your take on the tiredness? There's been a lot of people maybe trying to bash. It seems like Russell is now the scapegoat of everything that goes wrong at this football club. A lot of people saying we look unfit, struggling to run out games. Do you have much of an opinion on why you think that is?
Maybe not the why, but I do agree with Sarah's thoughts that it did seem like that.
Yeah.
There was a point with a couple minutes to go, and I don't think this would have made it onto the coverage, but we were looking out at Jack Martin at centre half back, and the ball came towards him. Did you see this bit?
I don't recall this one.
He was just standing there with his hands on his hips while the ball came in, and then it looked like he might have been sick.
Oh.
On the ground. And then he just walked for the next probably minute as the ball went up the side, and he just kind of walked through the middle. And
Interesting.
And we were just kind of saying to ourselves what was the go there? And so I don't know whether he was knackered. And then,
I mean, the lack
Walshy.
of the drop in rotations would hurt, but you sort of plan for it. I don't know if an issue of this is all we're doing for the whole game is chasing the opposition. And so it's like wasted running in a way. Like you're having to use so much energy because you're out of position, because you're running the whole game. We get the ball, midfielders run forward, bad kick, they get the ball, you're now having a turn, run the other way. It's the whole game. I mean, that's surely going to tire you out. I'd want to know maybe the K's numbers there, but maybe it's even more of how many maximum efforts are these guys having to bring. Because that happens. Our turnovers are shocking. You have to give everything to get to that next contest. It's not an ideal... You're not planning to turn the ball over, so you can sort of conserve, get in the right spot, set up your sort of team defense that way. Mm-hmm. Instead, we're turning the ball over, getting absolutely smashed. Teams are running through us, and that's got to tire you out. I think, honestly, that might be why we look so tired.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm onto something.
I think that's a good point, to be honest. It's definitely more tiring to chase than it is to have the ball and be chased, and So yeah,
maybe that's it.
Cool call, Sarah.
Another one we have. Tim's Trading says only one goal in the last quarter when the game was there to win. 40 tackles to 65. We had more inside 50s. Beaten on every line. He says here, sadly, another wasted season. We are not good enough despite all the hype and promise. Casbolt shot, Murphy too slow. So definitely going the quite negative route there. Look, the one thing I will say, and I know everyone's been very, very upset and disappointed on this, like Big Tim here, and it's absolutely fair enough. I'm not taking anything away from that. But the another wasted season, I don't think you can say that after 2 games. I understand this stat that's coming out being like 0-2, you don't make finals. There is a chance, there always is, depending on how big you want the chance to be, we don't lose another game for the season. Like, I know that's absolutely,
you sound like me.
That's absolutely outlandish, but, you know, there is a world where we win our next 4 in a row and we're near the top 8. It's harder when you've got to start jumping and beating teams and getting up the ladder, but we're 2 games in. We were 1 preseason game in and everyone was, we're going to win the flag.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
going finals bound. We then play against St Kilda and it's, we'll still make finals.
Yeah.
We lose against Richmond and it's, we're almost there. We'll still make finals.
Yeah.
1 loss against Collingwood and it's,
we're not going to win the game.
No, we'll lose every single game. Now, unfortunately, next week we might be here in 0-3, but let's get to that when we get to it, I reckon. Let's stop. Like, I've been quite negative this episode, but I'm still positive for next week. It's okay. This was garbage. This happened. Fix it. If we don't start fixing it and we go 0-4, then I'm going to be very negative on everything. But I still think there's things that can be fixed, whether it's tweaking game plan, tweaking personnel, making these harsh calls, which I think is what we'll probably get into in the ins and outs, is I want these big calls. I don't think Teague will make them, but I want big changes to go, hey, you play like that, you're not in the team. Make the statement, chop these guys out. Hey, go to the VFL, prove yourself, come back in, we're flying. But I just want us, I feel like maybe it's just because I'm angry that I want a statement, because I don't want us to keep pretty much the same team, have the same result, because then what are you doing?
And with the sadly another wasted season, do you think last season was a wasted season?
It was disappointing at the end. I think it was a wasted chance, but I don't think it's a wasted season. I think there was still a lot of hopefully development from some of these guys that we saw come through. But it's just where you keep taking it. If we have a very similar season to last season, I'll say it's a wasted year. Because there's not that improvement. If we're still fading away, getting 30 goals kicked on us in a row, like, again, it happened in this game against Collingwood, if these still problems that we're seeing week in, week out aren't addressed, unimproved, that's when it's wasted. But I'm not going to say that after just 2 games.
Good, I agree. Last season, I think our expectation was to improve, which we did. And then this year, our expectation is to make finals. So we can only judge that once we see the final letter, in my opinion.
I agree. So we'll do some quick fan questions and then we'll jump into the Freo chat. So we've got one from Ashley Warren. She says, I'm worried about the form of our co-captains. When the game is on the line, they both make bad errors. Doc with some poor kicking, Cripps poor decision-making, setting a bad example for the rest of the team. Now, I think we touched on this a little bit. And yeah, it's hard. We don't seem to have these big leaders that can, they have done it in the past, that can sort of show you the way, and it's not great when your 2 captains are out of form. It makes it very hard to give direction, but I mean, both have just got to fix it. I don't know how they fix it. I don't know how the coaches help fix it, but we can't have both of our, when you have 2 captains and they're both not performing, that's an issue.
Yeah, I do agree with Ashley. And setting a bad example for the rest of the team. Yeah, well, it's like we spoke about earlier. I would love them. I'd love Cripps to be the one to make a statement at the start of the next game. Fire up, something like that. I don't know. Kick the big goal, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a good analysis because it's all about the leaders.
If they're not performing, it's hard to expect everyone else to. If Cripper's doing these big looping handballs, forward handballs, in stoppages, taking guys on, what do? You're going to do that. You're like, hey, you did it, Cripper. You can't tell me off a forward handball if that's all you're doing. It's tough. Something needs to change there. Definitely agree. We got one from Tracy Reed. She says, chances of Teague dropping folks, he better because the standard of players is not acceptable.
Very high, I think.
Yeah. I think there will be players dropped. I want like 5 changes.
Really?
I don't think we'll get that. I think there will be a couple. But we'll get onto that just after Timmy Dubb's question.
Timmy Dub.
Need to hear reasons why we should maintain the faith. We are outcoached, outplayed against a team we needed to beat to prove our credentials, and we failed. Faith is broken. Oh, no.
Timmy Dub.
I don't want that. I don't want to see this man unhappy. I think it's weird. I came into this incredibly negative. I've said a lot of negative things, but somehow I've been seething with myself for the past few days because we're recording this on the Sunday, so it's been a couple of days since.
Yep.
I'm feeling a bit better. I don't know if it's just the fact that I've been able to say it and just get it out there, but I think it's that I've said it. I've dealt with the week. I'm all positive now for Freo. Yep. I've got another game to get excited about, to think, okay, we're going to belt Freo. They've got injuries, all of this. Let's do it. I think that's where the positivity has to come from. If you're not positive about the next week thinking you're a chance to win, why are you watching?
Well, I hope this was the therapy session Timmy Dub needed as well.
Hope so.
And he's feeling that positivity after this because, sometimes you just got to air it.
Yeah.
Feel better. I'm feeling positive too.
I think so. So for the game against Freo, we always have a good game with these guys. I don't want another close game. As much as I love the moments of a sidestep banana from Murphy and a Jackie Nunes after the siren goal, God, I just want to beat him. I don't want more stress in this game. Let's just go out and win. Let's get a 5-goal head start and keep it.
Yep. That's all I want to say. A fast start would be great. Oh, I'd love a comfortable game to watch under the marble roof.
I think we just need to see what we didn't see this week. Just come out there firing, tackle pressure up. And that's the thing, if they don't bring it, not to be negative again, but if they don't bring it, then you're going, well, what? What are you doing?
Yep.
How do you not have that in you to bring hard intensity in like must-win games? I know we love throwing out the must-win. But you need to win these games. You go 0-3, you then go 0-4. You put more pressure on yourself. You have to be fired up for a home game against Freo after you've lost against Collingwood in that performance. You have to turn it around.
I'm in such suspense waiting to hear your changes.
Okay.
Because
I need to hear yours first.
5 changes.
And then I'll go nuts into mine. So who comes in, who comes out after that performance? I'm assuming you Casbolt out.
Yeah. Most weeks I feel pretty comfortable knowing who I think should go out and come back in.
Yep.
Not the case this week. Mainly because of my ins.
Yeah. So, okay, who do you have coming in? And then I'll try and guess your outs.
Well, Sauce has to come in if he's fit.
Sauce, I like that. I think he's in our best.
I think he's in our best, and I think even if they didn't have the practice game, I think he can still come back in this week. Who else is there to come in? Betts.
Is he coming in for you? Is he in?
No, not at this stage.
Yeah. I think Teague will probably play him, but he's not. He's not coming in for me.
Yeah. For me, it would be Casbolt has to go out.
Yep.
And Oscar has to come in.
Yep.
For all the points that you mentioned.
So who comes out for JSOS? Because you've said he's in our best. I agree with you. If he's fit, I think he makes our team better. He's one that tackles. He gives 100%.
He does.
Bleeds for the jumper. Now, more players need to do what he does every single week. And honestly, I think he's improving and becoming a really good player for us. I thought he was really good against Richmond. Who comes out?
This might require some shuffling, and it might then require Zach to go back, but it's Willow for me.
Willow, okay.
It doesn't seem like for like, but Willow, those last 2 weeks, man. He was one of my players to watch, one of my all that kind of thing.
You're struggling.
Yeah, I think they're the two for me.
Yeah. Is there anyone else just on that? So let's say JSOS already in the team, that's been taken care of, and you want Willow out. Is there someone you would want as a direct replacement for him?
So hard.
Is there anyone at all that you can think of at the moment? Or do you just not think that we necessarily have that sort of mid-sized defender at the moment?
Yeah. That's
like if Marchbank was fit, would that be an easy in for you? Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I don't see him playing.
No, I don't think. I think he needs to play VFL. I wasn't playing about 3 years.
Exactly.
He can't just
6
come
years or
straight
something.
in.
Yeah. No, it's Newman if fit. It's Marchbank if fit.
Yeah.
So I think it would require some shuffling.
Okay. I don't mind that.
But a lot of this is based on my kind of underlying opinion that if they did come out, already neglect the point that you're about to make and go boom, 5 for 5 players. It just messes with the already lack of chemistry and structure that we have.
I get that, but on mine, and this is probably my reasoning, is you just can't reward mediocrity. Like if someone's not playing well, I'm all about, believing they can turn it around, but turn it around in the VFL because we need to win now.
Yep.
So
give it to me.
I've got some big ones. So Williamson probably going to be the first one out.
Yep.
And I've got Maddie Cottrell coming in. Now, is Maddie Cottrell a better footballer? I don't probably 100% believe that. I think Cottrell has his downside, but what does he bring that we needed on the weekend?
Bit of fire.
Yeah. We've been talking about him a little bit in the off-season as like, where's he fit in the best 22s? There's probably some guys ahead of him, but right now I'm going, I need to see this guy in there because he's big Carlton supporter. All he does is tackle and bring fire. He gets the team up and about. I think if there's ever a week to bring that man in, it's this week. Can he move and play on that wing as well, potentially?
Yeah.
In like that Setterfield thing? I think he can. Runs all day. I think this is the week for Cottrell to come in because in no offense to Big Willow, you can't be worse than he's been the last 2 weeks. So that's one of mine. Obviously, I've got Casbolt coming out. I've got McDonald coming in. I'm dropping Setterfield.
Okay.
Because he just hasn't shown it on the wing. Like I sort of said earlier in this podcast, he just has not. I think Setterfield's a good player. I think he is in our best 22. I just don't think it's on the wing. I think it's a midfield rotation. But so far, he's out of form. Don't know what it is. And so this is a hard thing. There isn't really that direct replacement. But who do I want to see in? I want to see Liam Stocker.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
Why not? You can't be worse than 19 metres gained. He brings a bit of fire. We know he's a tough guy. He said himself in interviews that when he crosses, that white line, he wants to go nuts. So I want to see it. He's apparently been playing decent, had a decent preseason. This is the time. Sydney, Freo, these teams are bringing in their youth and it's working. Like I'd love Stocker to just play like heaps of VFL, get that confidence up and come in. But at the moment, we need someone in. So I'd like to see him. I've then got another couple, which this is where it
Crips
goes.
out?
No, I'm not going that far. But I've got Ed Kerner coming out, which I think you might have seen coming. I said last week, I don't see why he should be playing in our team. What does he possibly give? Okay, I've just got a question for you. What does Ed Kerner bring to this team? What are his positives?
I thought he actually used the ball a lot better this week. And I thought he didn't have as much of the bombing forward attitude.
Yeah. Okay.
That was just like some individual plays that I noticed. In theory, he's one of the tougher players in our team.
I agree.
But not at the level that I'd hope he would be at. So I'd say that's probably the thing. And I'm with you. I get it in theory, the fact that I don't think he'll be in our premiership team.
No, yeah.
Probably almost no doubt about that.
The one thing, and I will say this because I've noticed it twice, this is a big positive on Ed Kerner. We have at multiple times in the last 2 weeks kicked him the ball in horrendous situations and he's clung to the mark. Yeah. And I don't know how he's clung to the mark. He's like big diving chest marks into like 3 different players about to clean him up and he's held it. So I will say that is something we probably don't have too many players doing at the moment. But for 21 touches, he did go a little bit better. I agree he was better, but it's what he does. And if he's not doing those shutdown roles and he's not primarily playing in the centre bounces. Now, he did have quite a few. He was a little bit better with that this week, but because he had, 13 there. So he had more than Dow. He attended more centre bounces than Dow. He was the 4th most behind Cripper, Williams and Walsh leading it.
Yeah.
But if he's not going to be that big midfielder, and if we've already got a Cripps who we say doesn't use the ball well, Williams, not the best, is Dow the best user? I just don't understand what he brings to this midfield that is going to take us and propel us forward. And he's another one that's like, it's like a Band-Aid player for me at the moment.
Yes.
He's in there, placeholder for the moment. So why not make a statement and say, look, Ed, now he could come back. I'm not saying this is the last time we'll ever see him, but there is a guy in our team that I think plays similar to Ed Kerner but has potential upside. And so for me, I'm sort of thinking, now this maybe goes against what I've been saying in doesn't dispose the ball well, similar sort of players, but Matt Kennedy. What is the harm in bringing in Kennedy for Kerner? For me, I don't think you get worse. I think it's very similar with the potential that a Kennedy becomes a better player because he's younger. I just don't see the negative to see what it's like bringing a different player, a player that is not necessarily losing culture player like a potential that Kerner is. I think I'd just rather see what Kennedy can do instead of Ed Kerner. I don't want Kennedy in the team with Ed Kerner, but if I'm kicking him out, that's what I want to see.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah, it's fair. It's just against, I guess, my fundamental principles of, the bulk changes.
Yeah.
I agree that they're probably not that dissimilar in their actual ability, but I would still have Kerner in as a better player right now. Definitely think that Kennedy's more likely to be a better player in the future.
Yeah. If you
valid.
What if, and it's just a hypothetical, would you be happier if, say, Setterfield stayed in the team and then you just simply brought Stocker in for Kerner? Would that be better for you? Because they're a slightly different player.
Setterfield stays.
So, Setterfield stays. What you do with him, whether he stays on the wing, whether he goes on ball, but you basically bring in Stocker instead.
Yeah. Well,
of Kerner.
I like having Stocker in.
Yeah.
But for me, I had Kerner as a far better game than Setterfield.
That's fair.
For me.
That's fair. And then this is the biggest one. So, okay, I do want Silvani in the team.
Yeah.
Currently, I honestly just had not thought about who comes out, but he finds a way in. Whether he comes in, I don't know who comes out, but the big one I had was Plowman out. Plowman dropped. Now, I'm a big staunch supporter of him. Thought he had... The biggest thing that annoys me with everyone ganging up on Plowman this week in particular was it's not as if his round one was like that. Played unreal.
Yeah.
He was genuinely in my top 4 players last week. Yeah. And so for everyone to completely turn around and go, Plowman, he's garbage, worst player, I don't subscribe to that.
Agreed.
I think
the haters last week were saying, are we wrong about Plowman? Genuinely. So,
and then I think a lot of it was structurally issues, but for me, I'm a little bit worried on Plowman because we know how he gets beaten. And if we're not going to address that and try to make sure he's not isolated, I don't probably want a player in that team that has such a big deficiency as a defender. And obviously because of seeing the laughing, the things like that, I think to make a statement, I probably want him out of the team slightly more than Kerner for the statement side of things. And why not bring in Parks? Why not? He's been having a good preseason, young player. Now, Parks doesn't have to necessarily stay in the team, and Plowman's never coming back, back into the team. Why not make a statement and see what this young kid can do? He's been playing really well in these VFL games, intercept marker, bringing what we don't have. I don't think there's a better time to just see what he has. We're not expecting Parks to come in and be the best absolute player. If he has a somewhat badish game, no one's going to be like killing the kid for it. It's like, okay, go back VFL, do it. For a statement, that's what I want to see.
I think they would be killing the club, though, if we lose this game and Luke Parks has 4 disposals and 4 goals kicked on him and we took Plowman out.
Do you think they would? Everyone already hates Plowman anyway.
They do already hate Plowman.
And Plowman has 4 goals kicked on him and he's apparently I probably had like 6, to be honest, by the end of the game. But if Plowman... I feel like people give a bit of leeway to a kid coming in and you go, okay... I want Plowman basically... Something needs to happen for him to fix that. To fix that attitude that I saw on the weekend. Because there's too much of that in our team that's just this soft, doesn't even matter. Because that's what I'm seeing from their performance is they don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care about tackling. I don't care about intensity. Who gives a shit? That's what I'm seeing from the team, and I think it's very highlighted by what Plowman did that was caught on camera, which is just silly to do. So for me, you make that statement, you say, hey, we're not about that. You do that, you're out of the team. I don't know if that's just a harsh, sort of old-fashioned way to do it, but if I was the coach, and I don't think Plowman will get dropped, but I'd make that statement.
Yeah, I do agree with the attitude thing for sure. All that's front of mind for me is I want to do whatever it takes to win this week.
Yep.
And I think,
you think Plowman's best 22.
I think
you
he
do
is.
that. Yep.
And I also think Plowman has the potential to be in our premiership side that we're in our future. And I just hope that there's some other way, whether it's a sit-down spray from Teague or, maybe it's a sit-down spray from players.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You don't do that in front of the cameras. I don't know what it is.
If they haven't addressed that, and I assume they have, you have to assume they have.
I think they would have.
If they haven't, we've got bigger issues. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this game this weekend. It is a big one. Home game. Probably the best time to play Freo, basically. They have so many injuries. It's in Melbourne. The opportunity is there. And I know we always laugh about the must-win and have-to-wins, but this is about as must-win as possible at this stage, because more must-win as... Obviously, we need to win every game of football. That's just what we play for. There's no point of playing. But it's... Our expectation is where it is, and let's push for finals. Let's play finals. We need to be beating Freo. Beat them last year. Beat them the year before. Finished above them on the ladder. Mm-hmm. We need to be a better team. And that's as simple as that. We need to beat them because we need to show we are a better team than them. That's what it is for me.
It's must win.
Yeah.
10-day break as well.
Yeah, we've got a decent break. It's on the Sunday. Lovely Melbourne. Be beautiful.
3:20 game. Looking forward to it.
I am.
Our first game together for the season.
Have not been to a proper game this season so far, so I am dying for it. Just to get some bit more positivity. Just as we end this one. How was it? How was the home crowd of Carlton?
Funnily enough, it felt like less of a home game than round one.
Yeah, it's hard because the capacity was increased, and then it was so much easier for Collingwood supporters to get a ticket.
As I spoke about with the Richmond game, it felt like a Carlton home game, and it felt like the Carlton fans were up and about, and their fans were a bit whatever. And it wasn't like that. Yeah. There was the Collingwood chance and all that.
Yeah, it's not good when we don't turn up. It's very hard if that first quarter's like that. It's hard to get the fans up and about. And I think sometimes we are a little bit fickle and a bit fair weather. Yeah. I didn't want to bring that up, but my God, on Twitter, there was some shockers of like, I'm never going to go to another game again until they fix this. And it's like, please never come to another game. Like, I don't want to be harsh and start fan bashing because that's not what I'm about. But it's like, come on. Let's all talk our shit like we're doing now and say what we didn't like. But I'm going to the game next week. Like, I'm going to be there. Yeah. That's what I do. Love this footy club, regardless of how garbage, we have been over pretty much our whole lifetimes. You just have to. You have to get up and about. There's no point.
I have to mention this, even though I think this is our longest podcast ever.
I think so. There's a lot to talk about. Votes. Oh my God, the votes. Yes. We've missed the votes. Okay, we'll jump into these. Good way to finish it.
Yeah.
So fan votes I have here were Gibbons got 4, Fogarty got 5, Walsh got 9, Mackay got 10, and Jack Martin was your favourite on 11.
Wow.
A little bit surprised from those votes.
That surprises me.
Was not what I had, but we'll add that to the tally. Have them for the end of season awards. Now, Lockie, what was your 3, 2, 1?
I went with the club on who they thought was best on. I gave Fog 3.
The Fog, yep. I had Fog with 3.
Yeah.
Thought he was just from start to finish, tried, played well. It wasn't just an effort. I think he was the best. Who was your 2?
2 to Walshy for me.
I've done the exact same. Are we going to have the same votes every week? Because we had the same last week.
I think we are.
Oh, no.
Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Harry.
Yep, there you go. Okay, we have got the exact same votes every week. This is unreal. At least we disagreed on something in this podcast, though. For other things, we'll agree on the votes. And that is probably the perfect way to end this. We're both in sync now. I think I've had my rant and we're ready to go. Let's just... I think I said this for Collingwood, but let's just smash Freo. Let's come out hot. I want to see gang tackles, 7 blokes just wanting to win that footy. We can do it. Why can't we? Too easy. See you guys next time.